Hey everyone, so this is the very first bit of material. This is the math review chapter, chapter 0. As you can see, there are a total of 10 different sections in this chapter. I'm not going to be covering all of them. In fact, what I'm going to be covering is I'm going to be covering using a calculator, exponents in scientific notation, then algebra, and percentages. Now, what that means is lots of these other topics, they're really valuable for Gen Chem 2. They might not necessarily be completely relevant to this class. So if you go on to take Gen Chem 2, I would totally go through this again, just so you're in good shape for that. Specifically the quadratic formula. That's a, from what I remember of Gen Chem 2, that's a pretty, it rears its ugly head periodically, or enough, I guess. Okay, so with that said, let's proceed. So using a calculator, a scientific calculator is able to perform operations that are necessary in science, such as entering numbers in scientific notation and calculating logarithms. Now, I use this calculator right here. This is a Casio. This is a FX280 Solar 2. This is 10 bucks. I got it at, I'm going to go ahead and guess HEB, because that's one of the few places that I go. And so picked it up there pretty cheap. Get something that's about $10, because that's what we can use in this class. TI-83s and TI-82s and everything of that model, or of that kind of that level of calculating ability is beyond what we allow you to use in this class for exams and everything like that. That's a very good calculator for a calculus class. This is a perfect calculator for a general chemistry class. So this Web 2.0 scientific calculator is the one that you have access to through Sapling Learning. And this has all the functions similar to this calculator right here. And any of those $10 type of calculators you'll find have these basic functions. Scientific notation. Every scientific calculator has a way to enter numbers through scientific notation. Now, to use the exponent key, now in my calculator, it is EXP. But it might be labeled, the exponent function may be labeled E, double E, or EXP on your calculator. Mine is that EXP. Now make sure that you do not mistake this for the 10 to the X function button. That's the inverse log function. So basically, if you wanted to write the number 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, the way that you punch that in this calculator in particular, I'm going to go ahead and type in 6.02. As you can see, 6.02. Then I'm going to type EXP, and notice how in the upper right hand corner there it shows those two zeros. So then I'm going to type in 23rd, and there we go, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. I can press equals and it doesn't change anything. That's that number written in scientific notation. Now if you wanted to change your exponent from a positive to a negative exponent, well then you type in 6.02 EXP, and then I'll type 23, and then what I want to do is I want to change my plus minus, so that's change it from a positive to a negative exponent. It's kind of difficult to see. No, it's not difficult. There we go, negative 23rd. So what that means is that tells you where the decimal place is. 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd when it's a positive exponent. Think about that as this decimal place is moving to the right 23 times. Now if it's a negative exponent, and then it is moving to the left 23 times in this particular case. Of course, if you're talking about positive 2 exponent or positive 3, or sorry, negative 3 exponent, well then that's moving that many places. This last detail, or this last bit right here, is do not use subtraction, or do not use the subtraction button to change that sign, because then you're going to be basically changing what you're trying to enter into the calculator. Some calculators require that you enter a value and then press a function button, while others require you to press the function button first. Now, I think that it's very important that you get familiar with your calculator, especially before an exam or a quiz or something like that. Know exactly what you're working with so that you don't get into, understanding how to do the concept or understanding how to answer the question, but you've run into the problem that you don't know how to use your calculator very well, or you're borrowing a calculator from somebody and you don't know how to use that one well. So that's why I would get something cheap like this and just have it ready to go, and you're good. You're not going to mess up because of the calculator. Second functions. Symbols above a button usually indicate that that button will do if you press the second button. So for me, I don't have a second, I have shift. There we are, shift, and that tells me that I can press that button and then press another button and get a different function out of all of this. So evaluate this number using a calculator. The way that I would plug this in is I would first plug in parentheses 5.8 divided by 3.2 times 10 to the negative fourth. So for my calculator, the way that works is I'm going to go parentheses 5.8, close parentheses, divided by, and then open parentheses 3.2, and then exponent 4, and then I'm going to press my negative function, so I'll plug that all in, and I will get that, and I got 18,125. That's what I got on my calculator, as you can see here. I keep going towards the screen and missing a little bit. I'll work on that as the semester wears on. But that basically sums up an introduction to a calculator. Obviously, get your own calculator, figure out how to use that so that you're comfortable with it whenever you actually need it. All right, well, thank you very much.